Well, hello everyone. Welcome to our monthly live stream. We are here
Hello.
live with you. Butch, Julianne, myself. So glad to have you guys
Nathaniel,
on.
Nathaniel Spears. It's just, I tell you, this is really what it's all about. It's what, by the way, when I position my frame, I can put the little logo as Danny Phantom's tail. See that right there?
There you go.
Right there in the
That's
tail.
good.
Right there.
Anyway, right there.
Well, hello, everybody.
Hey. Hello, Vision Possible people. Welcome to our live stream. We should have done this last week, but you and I were traveling, Julianne. We were doing a lot of.
It was a holiday,
stuff.
and we want everybody else to enjoy their 3-day weekend.
Yes,
that's right.
We had a Labor Day here in the U.S., so we're so glad you guys could join us. Just because it's a Labor Day holiday or a holiday period doesn't mean that visions have to stop. Your vision keeps moving. Daniel, we can all attest to the fact that there are those of us who take a vacation and those of us who still, work and visualize our stuff.
Who need a vacation but don't take one.
Right. Well said. Hey guys, if you have any questions for us here at Vision Possible, put them in the chat. We've got some questions some people emailed in already earlier today, and we'd love to answer as many questions as possible. If you've got a question about your career, but how to get your vision out of your heart, out of your I said heart, I went up here, out of your mind, out of your heart, and into the marketplace, please let us know. We're here to help. I've got 36 years in Hollywood. Julianne's got the same amount of time in Hollywood. Nathaniel is a young man, but he's got all this leadership experience right now. He builds apps. He builds websites. He was building websites before people knew how to build websites. The guy knows a lot about everything. So please ask us questions. Let us help you. Take it away, everybody else.
Yes, we've already got questions coming in too, so we're going to start with some of those. And by the way, before anyone was making websites, that makes me sound so old.
Dude, don't even. You're on. Oh, look, listen. We've been on the air. Well, Julianne and I have been married for 30 years. You're not even 30 yet. Okay, been married your whole entire life.
That's true.
Alexander wants to know where Ryan and Carly are. Julianne, do you want to explain?
Well, unfortunately, Carly had something else that she had to do tonight, and then also Ryan is with his family, which is so nice that he takes vacations with his family still, even though he's over 30. But and they're at a remote place where there's no internet, so that's kind of nice. So they got to unplug. And
sometimes you got to do that, like we were saying, those 3-day weekends. Those vacations, those times where you just unplug, that's some of the most productive time. Talk about getting your vision across the, the starting line. That's the time to do it. Buckle down when you don't have to worry about work, but let's need that time to recharge.
And where is this magical place where there's no internet? Can someone please tell me where that place is?
Oh,
it is. Mm-hmm. It's the entrance to my neighborhood. When I drive in, I lose every cell phone call is gone.
That's right.
For some reason.
All right. Well, we got our first question here from Tony. I'm going to throw this one up. I think this is a great question. Butch, this one's for you. What were your transferable, adaptive, and job-specific skills like growing up, and how did they help you and guide you to become a cartoonist? So, what skills were they that stuck with you?
I like all the fancy terminology, a transferable, adaptive, and job-specific skills. Well, real quick, it wasn't just me being a cartoonist. Yes, I could draw, but a lot of people that can draw don't want to move out of their state where they live. I was from Michigan, and I could have just stayed in Michigan. I could have worked in my hometown. I could have painted people's businesses, like their signs for their business. I could have been a cartoonist in the local paper. I could have drawn flyers for the bake sale. I could have, done all kinds of local small town stuff. Could have done things at the state fair. I could have done that. That would have been a totally fine, wonderful job. But I wanted something different. I wanted to go to Hollywood and work on television, and I don't know where that came from. But I think it happened when I was a little kid. And so my transferable skill was I could draw, so I could transfer that anywhere. Adaptive. I was an adaptive person growing up. Had a lot of interesting qualities as a young person. I was not afraid a lot, but then there were times I were. But I always stepped over the fear. Someone's got to mute their mic, by the way. Someone's crunching on the other. I was able to overcome my fear by being brave enough to go on to the next level, even though it was scary. Job specific skills, I acquired those when I left Michigan and got into the entertainment industry. I learned what the entertainment industry required as I got there. And I really had to learn on my own because I had nobody in my family in the entertainment industry at all. I had to learn how to do it. So it was just learning how to, how to take my skills somewhere else. Fortunately, too, I was young enough to where I wasn't really aware of the giant challenge it would be. I was young enough and foolish enough to go, I can do this, and I fortunately I did. But sometimes if you see the whole path laid out in front of you, it's a little bit more daunting. So yeah,
That's a good answer. I think one of the
that's
things.
a great answer.
That's a great answer.
Fantastic answer.
One of the things, and I've done a video on this on Vision Possible a couple times actually, but I think one of the most important skills that you can have when it comes to a job, whatever that job is, it doesn't matter whether it's a 9 to 5 job working for someone else, whether it's a business and you're working with clients and acquiring customers and doing all that stuff. The number one thing is what's called the emotional quotient, and that's EQ. It's the ability for you to relate to others, the ability for you to read others, the ability, just people skills in general, right? And if you take time to enhance people skills within your life, especially for me, like I consider myself an introvert. I recharge alone. I always like to, after a long weekend, like just go back and relax. That is what I do. And so, especially for me, like having to get myself out of my comfort zone, learn how to talk to people, associate with others, sell yourself, right? That's the emotional quotient. And honestly, that's what gets you so far. There's a book on, it's called On Emotional Intelligence. It's by Harvard Business Review. And that book changed my life. It really shows you why the number one hireable skill anywhere is EQ. If you've got that, man, that's the thing hiring managers look for, that you're humble, you're teachable, you're smart. Whether when I say smart, I mean people skills, right? Those are my top three: humble, teachable, and people smart. And if you've got a good balance of those, you don't have to be experts in all of them. Nobody is, right? But you need to have a good balance in those things. And yeah, man, that'll take you so far. But that's a good question, Tony.
It's like having those people skills. Listen, some people are born extroverts. They're just born being able to handle themselves in a room. But then you might be someone who isn't afraid to talk to people, but there's still that side of having, I'll use the word manners. Like, no, even though you're not afraid to be in a room with people, doesn't mean you get to do all the talking all the time. You have to let other people talk. You have to let other people, there's knowing those cues is when to say this thing, when not to make all those dumb jokes you have in your head. I say this from personal experience, when to say, the right thing, or when not to say. Do your homework when you meet people too. Know something about them and ask them, hey, blah, blah, blah. Can you tell me about this? Then you listen. You need to become a good listener too. A lot of us get under the impression that we have to be the one that does the most talking, but sometimes listening is very important as well, because people love to be listened to, and they need to think that they're special as well.
That's right. My rule of thumb for my team, and I tell them this all the time, my rule of thumb is you should be listening at least twice more than you're talking in any meeting, in any scenario. God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Do double the amount of listening and less talking. And a lot of times, we feel best, especially those of us who are creatives and enjoy that. Like we do best talking about our ideas, talking about our vision, always getting it out there. Sometimes it's best to just listen and absorb from others. And that's that balance that Butch was just talking about.
Well, neither one of you have let me say a word, so you guys all need to listen to what you're saying.
That's a rarity for Julianne, by the way.
Well, no,
no, you were just modeling. You were just modeling listening. That's all that was.
Okay. Exactly. Well, no, I was wanted to comment about that, is that, when I look at people, are you teachable? If you're not teachable, I cannot have you on my team. I cannot have you be a part of, because I've played that. I've done that before. I've played those games, and anybody, and having the people skills, knowing when people are full of, themselves, and knowing that there is no humbleness at all in them, and it's all about them. You can't work with those kind of people. I'm sorry. It's just awful, because they might, on paper look really good. But remember, it's like you're having a relationship with these people because you're going to spend a lot of time with them during the day and weeks and months and years. So you really gotta like and get along with who is now on your team. And so being teachable is really important. Being a good listener is really important because we get more out of listening. We can get answers to things because we listen instead of having to get our point across all the time. Someone may give you the answer, but you're so focused on you've got to get your point across to make yourself shine so that you look good that you might have already missed someone giving you the answer. And as an employer, if when I noticed that, I'd be like, well, maybe if you just stop talking for a moment and you listen to what was just said, then you would get your answer. And so those are red flags for me, not being teachable and also not listening.
Yeah. No, I think all of those skills that we just talked about, those are those transferable generalist skills that get you far. I'm just going to add one more thing. And then I see Hannah, you've got an awesome question. I'm coming to you next. And Travis as well. We're going to answer your question. I just want to add one. I think in our culture today, a lot of people focus on specializing, right? They specialize in certain things and they become the best at one thing. And you know what? That's really important.
I'm kind of losing Nathaniel. Can you hear me, Nathaniel? Julian, can you hear Nathaniel?
No, I cannot.
Okay, he froze. If you guys can still hear us, we are still here. Nathaniel has froze, but Nathaniel's also the host of the event. Hey, we're still here. Don't leave, everyone.
Okay, hold on. Can everyone hear me now?
Now we can hear you.
We just can't see you.
Can't see you.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna do this for a minute, and then when the internet gets better, I'm monitoring it. I'll turn my video back on.
Can you make me the host as well, so in case you vanish, I can command the ship?
Yes, I will do that. So, no, I want to add one more thing to what Tony was saying, and then we'll go on to your question, Hannah. So the idea of specializing, right? You don't want to become, a jack of all trades and a master of none. We've all heard that. But when it comes to hiring, this is something really, really important. When it comes to hiring, what hiring managers look for is generalists. People who can take on any task and succeed at it really, really well, because then you can be a leader, right? Then you can be promoted to other things, lead other departments. And so sometimes it's these things like you've said, Tony, these transferable adaptive skills.
We lost him again. Okay, okay, you're back. You came back.
I'm back. Am I back?
You're back.
What state or place are you in that there's no Wi-Fi? This is so weird.
The sad part is I'm in my house. That's what I get for living 9,000 feet up on a mountain is my internet goes in and out. Yeah.
Hey, listen, you know what?
I'm going to blame it on all the tourists that are in town dragging down our Wi-Fi.
Oh, of course. Okay.
That's what I would do. That's what I would do. Who takes a tour?
So what is Hannah's? Yeah. What's Hannah's question?
Put up Hannah's question.
I'm thinking about writing a poetry book, and I was wondering how many pages did you have in your book? Julianne, you want to go with that one?
Do I have a Vision Possible book right here? I do not. Do you have one there? Like, I don't remember how many pages.
No, Vision Possible was about 50 pages. And then my other book, Mad Hustle, was about 200 pages, I think. It just really depends on the amount of poems you want to tell, Hannah. Is every poem a 1-page poem, or is it a 5-page poem? I don't know.
I've got a book right here that is 90 pages just on my desk that I was looking at.
Well, what's it a book about? What's that book about?
Well, it's about the book of Hebrews, actually. So it's someone's commentary on the book of Hebrews. So I'm just looking at all the books I have sitting around my office right now, looking at, what everybody's doing. And I think it's just like Butch said, I think it's a matter of what do you have in you that needs to come out.
Yeah, exactly. So what I would do, Hannah, what I like to do when I write a book is I come up with whatever my subject matter is, I'll write a bunch of chapter names. Chapter 1, blank. Chapter 2, blank. Because a chapter should tell a story as well. chapters should go from chapter 1, the beginning of the story, chapter, final chapter is the end of the story. So what can I name this chapter? Chapter 1, starting off. Chapter 2, the problem. Chapter 3, my parents say goodbye or whatever. Then the final chapter is like the victory, whatever. So you want to construct your book like a story, and then give the chapters some really good names too. Make them compelling as well. You know what I mean? Anyway, so let's go to another question. Travis, I can see, but I can't. Am I allowed to do this? Did you make me a oh yeah, there we go. Hey Butch, when pitching a show, how many pieces of concept art should you have? Now this goes for everybody out there. If you're going to pitch a show or do any sort of a project, it just depends again on how much information you want to give the people you're pitching to. Like I have all these pieces of art on my wall back here. All this stuff, like that Fairly Odd Parents poster way over there. When I walk into a room, at least back in the old days, we could walk into rooms with people. I'd have a poster with me and say, here's my show. What do you think? And then if I want to, have 4 or 5 characters, have a drawing for each character, but do not come into a meeting with a pile of art this much, this thick, because no one's going to have a chance to look at it. Nobody will take that kind of time. You want to get in, dazzle them with as little as possible and get out, leave them wanting more is what you want. But make sure you do the artwork ahead of time. Don't do it there in the room. Make sure it looks like a professional made it. Please make it look like you know what you're doing. They're going to really, really want to see someone who knows what they're doing because they're going to want to give you money. Okay. So make sure you do that. Okay. You're basically pitching to get their money to make the show you want to make. Now, Nathaniel, are you back? Julianne, are you there?
I can hear me.
I can hear you. Yes.
I keep going in and out, so I'm going to keep my camera off for sure, and hopefully that really helps. But I can still hear you all. I can still put up comments, etc.
Very cool.
Okay.
And Hannah says, I can't even click. Yeah, I thought you made me part of the hosting. She says, I write all types of poems. Well, Hannah, that's a decision you've got to make. What type of poems do you want to, if you were walking through a bookstore and you wanted to buy a book on poetry, what would attract you to that book? You need to picture people walking through a bookstore or even walking past your or seeing your page online. What's going to make them stop and click on your page? You know what I mean? And
one of the things, I don't know if you guys can hear me and tell me if I fall off again.
Yes.
Okay, good. So for Hannah, for yours, it's not so much about the number of pages in a book as much as it is your word count, right? Because think about it, depending on the size of your book, if it's a small pocket book versus if it's a 4x6, or if it's like more of an 11, by 17, that's massive, 7.5 by 11. You can have all different book sizes, right? So it's less about the amount of pages. And I think especially for poetry, it's more about the amount of poems. And again, like Butch said, if you have too many of different kinds, that's not really its own genre, its own book. So specialize down to a certain theme or topic, write as many poems as in your heart, see how many that is, and then that would translate to your amount of pages. So when you start with a book, you look at word count, and then when you get into the formatting phase, man, your formatter can do all sort of things, right? They can make it more pages or less pages based off the margin, the spacing on all of the pages. So don't focus too early on how many pages. Just focus on writing and getting everything out of your heart, and then you'll see how many pages it can be when you get into the formatting stage.
And Hannah has a question there. She says, Julianne, this isn't job related, but I have a problem with a friend. Hannah, we're only sticking right now with questions about your vision and your career.
Right.
This is not the format right now to talk about friend problems and stuff. So, sweetie, if you could we can save those questions for another time. Julianne and I do some teaching on healing journeys today. You can ask us those questions over there. Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure you guys know that. And Nathaniel, any other questions that have come up earlier, maybe?
Yeah. So I've got a question. I think this one's left over from last time. It's a really great question. So here's the question. Why is nobody noticing me or my work?
Go, Julianne.
Well, that's kind of a real general question, because why is no one noticing my work in my workplace? Is no one noticing my work online? Like, that's the part I don't know. But We'll just use it as in my workplace. Well, a lot of times when we think that people's not noticing your work at your workplace is because you're looking to get accolades. You're looking for someone to whatever to tell you that you're the greatest thing in the world. And so, we do things because we know how to do them. We specialize in them. We're good at it, and we do it. And we do it with not something in mind of, well, I need someone to verify me, to make me feel like I feel really good about what I'm doing. I'm not saying that that's not a great thing. And your employer should be, letting you know what a great team player you are, or your work has been recognized or whatever. But we just got to watch this hand holding thing of, everybody's got to tell you how wonderful you are every minute. And I know that that's, something that's very prevalent right now. But we have to know, though, that if you're doing your job, then you're doing what you were hired to do. We don't have to take time every day to tell everybody, hey, you're doing a great job, even though you probably are. There's other ways of doing that, whether it's having monthly reviews, weekly reviews, or something like that. Now, if you're talking about, if this is something that you're putting your work out there on social media, like artwork or something like that, then I don't know what to say about that. Maybe it's the way you're posting. If your stuff is not getting anybody to notice it, then what can you do to make it look better? That's more probably of a question for Bush, because he is on social media every day doing his own TikToks, his own IGs. He does all that stuff on his own. So that's probably a better question about how you get noticed with that. But again, if it's in the workplace, just be careful that you're not taking on a victim mentality of no one's noticing me. Nobody cares what I'm doing. I'm just a part of, of the puzzle that's making this machine work. Because that's not a good attitude to have. Actually, that's a very selfish attitude to have, because what's going to happen is if your boss or your leaders or whoever doesn't give you that feedback every day, you're going to feel disappointed. So, but you want to handle the rest about social media?
Absolutely, Julianne. Yes, no, the social media thing. Look, if no one's noticing you guys, we live in a world where everybody's got a phone. Everyone's got a chance to have an account on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube or TikTok or whatever. It just comes down to content creation. It comes down to you having something interesting that will attract people. And look, let's go back to the days before social media. I know a lot of you probably weren't alive then, but it doesn't matter. There's been, decades and centuries where people needed to get people to notice them. If you had a stage performance, you'd put up posters. If you wanted to sell your groceries, you put an ad in the newspaper. I mean, where are you putting your ads? And I could be a physical ad with words, but let me ask you a question. Do you ever get out of your house and talk to people? How do you dress when you walk out of the house? Do you present yourself as a professional? Do you walk out really scared of the world and not wanting to see people? Do you go out there confidently and strongly, or do you wait for your parents to give you everything? I mean, how do you handle yourself out there in the world? It's becoming an adult and facing all the things that are difficult. And I'm just being real with you guys. If you want to make a splash in the world, not even a splash. Let's say you want to come alongside somebody else's vision. You might not even be the director of the movie or the star of the movie. You might just be the key grip on a movie or someone behind the camera. But you're just as important as anybody else in that movie, because you need to make the machine run. So where do you fit in that order? How do you fit? And figure out where that's going to be for you. And try a bunch of different things. You might not know at first. Nathaniel, are you there? Are you with us?
I am still here. Hopefully you can hear me. Those were great answers. And I like how we approached it from two different angles as well. So, hey, we've got another question from Hannah. Hannah's asking, how is the work on the garden going?
Julianne?
It's going amazing. We are going to be launching our app in November. We've got lots of great things that are going on that app. As far as the garden goes, we'll have curriculum, we have songs, we've got so much. It is such an amazing show, and people are just going to be freaking out. Yes, that's the picture of the garden right there. We are also, oh, that's an actual poster of the garden. We will also be on streaming platforms. We will not be able to announce those yet because we're not ready to, we're not allowed to do that yet, but we will be on several streaming platforms as well. So we've got a lot of great things happening. Our music is being put out there now by Capitol Music, and so all our songs. And so we're hitting it from every direction possible. And, I just wanted to also make a comment. The last time we were on this broadcast, I don't even think I was on there actually. My mother was sick. I was in hospitals and nursing homes since June with my mom. But what I want to tell you is that no matter what was going on in our life, my mom has since passed away August 21st, but we had to keep moving. We had to keep focusing and moving forward on all the things that we were doing, and that because that couldn't stop. And so there's a lot of things that might literally come in and try to hijack us every day. There might be things that try to come and derail us in our focus and what we're doing. But we have to know that you've got what I want to say is you've got to make a point to say, I'm not letting anything interfere with this. Now, I'm not saying that I was not with my mom. I was with her every single day, but I made it work. For instance, I would take my laptop to the hospitals, to the nursing homes. I would be on phone calls. I would excuse myself and go outside when there are phone calls and stuff. But I still was able to focus on my mom because I know that one thing about that is my mom wanted to see us fulfill all the things that God has called us to do. And if I would have missed one meeting or missed one opportunity, she would have been really mad at me. So I made sure that I kept everything, very scheduled, but we still got it done, and we are still on target for all the things that are going to be coming out in the next couple months. So it just depends. Now, am I sad that my mom is no longer here? Absolutely. Was the week that she passed and the week after that, the last 3 weeks, really hectic and kind of crazy? Absolutely. But I am a proven fact, and Butch's too, that you can still stay focused on the things you've been called to do while you're working on, while things are happening in your own life. Just because things like this happen doesn't mean we have to stop our lives. We've been called to do certain things. We can do it all if we choose. But if we get into so much of the emotions and we get to a place where we can't even function anymore, then that's going to really stop the progress of what God has called us to do. So I'm just saying, my mom's situation, she's 83 years old. It wasn't like she was 20 or she was 50 years old. So yes, she was towards the end of her life. No, she should have never gone that early, but I know where she went. So that part of it was okay in my heart. But I just want to say there's a lot of things that can be going on. I'm still running the businesses. I was still dealing with everything I had to with her. And if I trusted the Lord, he would help me work it all out so I could be everywhere at all times and be focused on what was before me each time.
That's awesome.
Well,
it is a reminder, no matter how busy you are, how much is going on in your life, you can still accomplish what's in your heart to accomplish. That's good. All right, we got a
go ahead.
From Sean.
Sean.
Question from Sean. Sean, YouTube. I have a big vision for my business, trying to choose aspect of on first. Voiceover, sound design, Foley, etc. I'd pick one and then go all in on that one, but I'm feeling like I don't put enough effort into the other areas. That's good. It's a good question.
This is all about sound design. He says voiceover, sound design, Foley. Foley is it's an interesting way to do sound. It's because a Foley stage, and a sound designer will have a little stage, and they'll watch the movie that they're doing sound for. And let's say the person picks up a pitcher and pours a glass of water. Well, the Foley artist will actually have a little pitcher and glass of water there, and he'll pour it, and then they'll record it, so it'll sound just like the image should sound on the picture. It's really cool. Or if someone's walking down like a a hallway with tiles. They'll have tiles right in front of them on the Foley stage, and they'll try and wear the same shoes the guy in the movie's wearing, and they'll walk and they'll record what those sounds sound like. It's movie magic, people. And Sean Cordy here sounds like he's doing a lot of movie stuff, a lot of live action film stuff. Says, you got a big vision for your business, trying to choose which aspect to focus on. Voiceover, sound design, Foley. I'd pick one and go in all in. And I feel like I'm not putting up into the other areas. Well, I would just say this: where are you getting the most work from right now? How many clients do you have in each area? If you got more in the voiceover area, focus on that. But you can really do a lot of things with very minimal equipment. You can do voiceover and Foley with the same equipment just about. And the sound design is a whole different thing. That's Pro Tools. You got to buy a computer for all that stuff. So I would just look and see who needs what amount of work first and go into that. And that's going to be networking too on your end. I mean, as having a sound design business, people have to know you're there and they have to know that you're good at what you do. And so start compiling your portfolio, number one, and get a website. I don't know if you have a website. Here's my sound design. Here's what I do. Maybe have examples of what it looked like before you did the sound design and what you did afterwards. And listen, all this costs money, guys. All this costs a little bit of time and energy and money. You got to spend money to make money. You know, if you're McDonald's, you got to build the restaurant and get all the supplies before you start selling hamburgers, right? You're a sound designer. You need to buy the equipment so you can design the sound. There's a second comment he has here. The reference, I currently do voice and sound design. I want to expand, but I'm a one-man band, so I want to make most of my time and effort. I completely understand. So pick the one you do the most right now. And my thing with you though too is advertise. You got to advertise your business. What city are you located in? Are you in LA? Or are you somewhere else in the Midwest somewhere? I mean, where are you located? Because it really depends on where you are. If you're in LA, there's 100 million of you. If you're in some other part of the world, maybe a part of America, there's less of you in a town. But you need to really figure out how to advertise yourself. The Living Blue Jay is here. Good day, visionaries.
But I want to make a comment though about that. Which one do you love to do? Because that also will be the one that you will flourish the most in, what you love to do. And then also, if you are in LA, I don't know if you've responded yet, but if you are in LA, be the best one in the business, right? You can be. If you're not, then you're going to have a better chance probably outside of LA. But what is it that you could do that would be very different that no one else is doing? I don't know, maybe that's in your advertising. But I believe that you could, do some brainstorming meetings with maybe some friends or whatever.
He's in Ohio.
What you come up with. Oh, he's in Ohio. Well, you got a better chance then to do more work. And that's good because there's so much competition here. But what do you love to do? Because I'm telling you, whether it's the voiceover stuff, it's the Foley stuff, it's the sound, whatever it is, that is what you're going to be the most successful in because your heart's there because you love doing it.
I love what Butch said right at the beginning. He said, focus on what is selling the best right now. Like focus on and couple that with what Julianne said. What is it you really love to do? Because that'll keep you sustained through that process. But focus on what you're really passionate about, what you feel like you do the best, and what you're selling the most. And then add on services from there. When I first started my business, I started with the basics. I just did basic web design and a few things that I knew I could do really, really well. And then from there, as it grew, I added on additional services like marketing, social media, those sort of things, right? But if you spread yourself too thin and you put yourself out there, you're not going to be truly the best in your craft. And Sean, I think you're saying, you really love voiceover. I think you're the strongest at sound design. So focus on one of those things. And I'm curious too, like Butch said, getting a website, getting your services out there is really key. Marketing your services out there, advertising, and then watching where you get the best response. I think those are going to be your key next steps to moving forward.
And plus, you just so you guys know, and I know you guys, Sean knows this, anyone who does a movie or any sort of production will always need sound if they're professional and good at it. Any commercial, any student project, any sort of advertisement, any sort of movie, film, whatever, everyone's always going to need sound in some way. So you're really it's as big as you want it to be in your area. You could be the king out there where you are, but again, it will take work. It's going to take networking, dinners, going to lunch. I had a sound designer out here in LA. He did all my Fairly Odd Parents stuff for years, but he kept bugging me all the time. He would always call me, always take me to lunch. He would always stay in my ear, so I knew that he was there. And so even though I worked with him for a long time, he still stayed on me. Like, hey, don't forget, we're here. Let's go to lunch. And I remember he gave me my first iPad actually years ago. And the iPad first, he goes, do you have an iPad? I said, no. He goes, here's an iPad. He gave me an iPad. So you remember things like that. So yeah, like I said, it does cost money to do business, but you make money back too. So
that's awesome. Guys, keep sending in your questions. I'm just loving all the questions tonight. Keep sending them in. Hey, Travis had a question earlier. How excited are you for the new Danny Phantom comic?
Let me tell you about this. This is interesting. I, first of all, am super excited about the Danny Phantom comic. There's Danny right. Where is he? Right there. But we've been talking about doing a Danny Phantom graphic novel for a couple of years now. And finally, the trick was to find an amazing artist and writer to do it. I could have done it myself, but I am too busy. And doing a graphic novel is such a huge intensive labor situation. You've got to really just focus on that for a long time. I should know, I just completed a children's Bible that'll be out in February of 2023 through HarperCollins. We'll talk about that one later, but I'm super excited. The story is called A Glitch in Time, and it picks up right after the very last episode of Danny Phantom. It's a novel that takes place right after what would happen to Danny right after the last episode. So I love the fact that this young lady, her name is Gabriella Epstein, super talented young lady who did this. I've only seen the cover so far, but I know a little bit more about the story, but it's so cool. I can't wait. I hope you guys will like it too. It comes out next July, almost a year from now.
We've got a question in from the Living Blue Jay. This is a good one.
Thank God the living Blue Jay, not the dead Blue Jay.
That's right. And she's one of our regulars here on the broadcast. So
I know. She's here all the time.
Mm-hmm. So this is a great question. I think a lot of people can relate to this one. How can you get an employer to want you for a position? Like, how do I prove myself in a simple interview? All interviews I've done lately, and they choose to go with someone else. Well, I'll start with the answer on this one. I've got some thoughts on this because I do a lot of interviews, interview a lot of people for different positions. And the nature of the positions I interview for are probably a little different than what you're going for. But I will say this, all employers are looking for people who are emotionally intelligent. We talked about that earlier. And I think you jumped on a little later, Living Blue Jay. We talked about that earlier. So go back to the recording and listen to some of it, like the transferable skills question that we answered earlier, because a lot of that relates to this. But you have to prove that you can lead in multiple things, right? So whether you're applying to work at McDonald's or you're applying to work anywhere, it doesn't matter. You're going to have multiple things hit you at once. Can you multitask? Can you think through a problem and bring up a solution? Can you lead others? A lot of people think leaders are only people who have direct reports or people working for them.
Losing Nathaniel again. Want to pick it up, Julianne, from where he was?
Yeah, and then I just will kind of repeat what we said. You know, when you have to be very versatile in a lot of things, we're not telling you that you have to, you know, all of a sudden do some kind of a computer program that you've never even seen before. That obviously would not be something that you would be asked to do. But having the attitude of, I'll learn it. I'll take the book home. I'll learn overnight. You know, that was one thing that happened to me when I was first starting out. I was a starving actress. You know, like we all start off in our teens, our late teens, and I needed a job. And so I went in for a typing job, which again, no one even does anymore. But anyway, it was the testing was how fast I could type. But then when they said, oh, we'll give you the job, but you have to know this certain, it was a computer at the time. And so again, so if I'm 60, go back 40 years. So you'll see what I mean by that. But anyway, I was like, you know what? 60? I don't know it. Yes, I don't know it, but I will study it tonight and I will come in tomorrow, the next day, whenever you need, and I'll show you that I can work that. So, just having that kind of a confidence of saying, I may not know it now, but I can go home and look at it and study it. But having a teachable spirit about you is probably the most important thing, to say, you may not know it now, but I know I can learn it. And also being able to be versatile, to say, like, I can do this, I can do that. Yes, I can try anything. I will not say no to you, but I will tell you what I can do. And the things that I cannot do, obviously, I would let you know. But stuff that, being versatile and being joyful about it is so important when it's coming down to hiring. I mean, like, I love somebody that, is like, yes, I would love to do it. I don't know if I can, meaning I don't have any experience in it, but if you teach me, I'll learn how to do it. Or, I don't know how to do that yet, but let me go Google it and I'll find out. I have a rule when I'm working with some of our employees. I don't want to ever hear no. Like, hey, can you do this? No, I want to hear yes, and then an and, meaning yes, and I will figure it out. Yes, and I will something else. But to say no is a real bummer for me. And it just really puts a whole, kibosh on the whole thing. And so I like to have people that are very teachable, that are fun, that are saying, like, look, I don't know how to do it, but I'm going to figure it out. And so that's really important to me. So as far as, like, doing an interview or whatever, is there anything that, that you can do? I mean, so if it's the interview process, are you being shy? I mean, I don't know you. Are you able to ask them questions? Because sometimes people like to hear that. They want to hear that you want to make their company better. They want to hear that you want to make their position look good in the eyes of the owner. They want to hear those things, that you are there to support whatever it is that it is, whether it's supporting the CEO or it's supporting one of the other leaders under the CEO that's going to make the business thrive. Those kind of answers, and especially if it's true, that's where I'll throw that out there, are really special, because if I know that this is my company that I have literally, have spent my whole life building, and I know now that you, we'll just call you I'll just call you Blue Jay, I think that's what it was, that Blue Jay is going to make my life easier and is there to see this company thrive and be successful. There might be skills you don't have that I would say, well, we'll teach you. But if you come in with that shyness, with that, like, well, I can only do certain things, or you've got lots of restrictions on yourself, probably aren't going to hire you, because I want to have someone that's going to be right out of the gate. I don't know, but I'll learn. And I will do whatever I can to make your business the most successful business in the industry.
That's
so
good.
Are we back?
Very good advice. I mean, hopefully we'll see. It seems like I just start talking and then I'm just getting censored by the internet over here or something. I don't know.
Yeah, well, go to finish.
You're just a controversial guy.
But he's got a lot of people that you interview all the time. So please try to get it in.
Yeah, so I think where I was going with that is, obviously go back, listen to some of the talk that we talked about earlier, emotional intelligence, transferable skills. But I couldn't agree more than what Julianne was getting at is the number one thing for me, and I said this earlier, is teachability. So you have to show, when you're interviewing for a position, you have to show that you're willing and able to learn. Like I have some extraordinarily intelligent people who work for me, who have literally risen up the corporate ladder, has done amazing things in the world. But I'll tell you what, I didn't hire them. In fact, I've turned more people down than I've hired who are extraordinarily competent and qualified because they're not teachable. If they're teachable, I can use that. And here's why. Any organization you go into, any company you go into, no matter what it is, no matter what you do, is unique, right? They have a company culture. They look for things to be done a certain way. That's why you have to be teachable. So I'm just seconding everything that Julianne said. Your three things, I said this earlier, is humble, teachable, and smart. Smart relates to people skills, people smart, right? So if you can be those three things, humble, you're willing to take criticism, like Julianne said, I'm humble. I want to take your company and grow it. It's not about you, it's about the company. You're teachable, you're willing to learn. Those are two different things, by the way. Humility is able to receive correction. Teachable is a hunger, right? It's a hunger to learn more. It's a hunger to grow. And then people smarts is the ability relate to people, listen more than you talk, all the things we talked about earlier. So really, if you've got a good balance of those, man, you're going to be, any employer will want you.
Daniel Freeling has had some nice comments here. He says, he says, I mean, God's word says that a day with the Lord is as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is as one day. So 60 years old is really not that old. Just saying. Thank you,
yes,
Daniel.
Thank you. Thank you. Tell my husband that.
You're only halfway through life at 60. There's so much left to do, be at that age,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there's some great additional questions. No, sorry, guys. So I got another question here from Hannah. I love this question. I think this will be a good one. Julianne, I know you're the founder of Healing Journeys Today, but did you always imagine yourself as a woman who runs an online education business like this, like Healing Journeys Today? Did you always see yourself coming into something like that?
Absolutely not, Hannah. Not at all. I did not see that coming at all. But as I was focused on what God has called me to do with teaching people about healing, as far as the spiritual healing from the Word of God, I just followed the direction of the Lord. That's all I did. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't know what it was going to look like. I'm a people person, so I thought I was going to be out with people. And that's how we started with our live conferences. But then when COVID hit and everything got shut down, I didn't know what to do. But the Lord had showed me to go do it online, and I didn't even know what that looked like either. So I said, okay, I'll just get a few people together that I know and ask them how we do it. So our first online conference was done, and we had over 90,000 views in that day. It was an 8-hour conference on a Saturday. And our friend Jonathan Peterson, who is just amazing at everything he does, he's the one that rigged everything up so that could happen. So the answer is no, I did not see that coming. But what I have seen coming is that I would influence a lot of people for many years. And through Healing Journeys Today, that is just one way. Vision Possible is another. So, but when you say yes to God, when you give him your yes, that opens up all of the windows of heaven, and he will pour you out such a blessing that you won't even have enough room to receive it.
That's so true. We often say your provision follows your vision, right? It's after your vision. And so sometimes you just got to do it. You just got to step out. You just got to have the vision. Like Julianne said, she knew she'd be influencing people, but she didn't know what that exactly was going to look like. I mean, I think, I'm not going to speak for you guys, but I think a lot of what you're doing right now, it's God just, you guys were faithful in the little things. You were faithful at the beginning, and now he's put you over much. And that's the way it is for all of us. Like, first you'll have a vision for something, you step out, you execute that vision. Then provision is going to follow. More vision is going to follow. And your ability to have those ends meet through that vision will follow. So just follow what it is you're passionate about. Take one step at a time. And man, God will give you more and more and more. So Healing Journeys Today is part of that. It's part of that more and more and more. It might not have been something that was in Julianne's heart exactly the way it is. But sometimes, if Julianne would have known that she was doing this 20, 30 years ago, probably would have been shocked. Like, probably would never happen, because you would have been like, wait, what do you mean a healing journeys? How am I going to do that? What is healing? What is this? Right. And so it's progressive over time, and you get it as you grow.
Yeah. It's so interesting. They're talking about being teachable, not just being teachable by people, but being teachable by the Lord. Like, what is the Lord saying? We're always, as humans, going to want to go this way, but God's going to go, we're going to go this way. Yeah, but trust me over here. And that's where our faith comes in. It's like, do I trust the Lord, or do I trust the world? And so that's a teachable moment there too.
That's so good. Well, guys, we have about 9 minutes left. We'll take one or two more questions. You can send them in the comments. I am looking at.
You're doing great, Faceless Nathaniel. You're doing fantastic.
Do you see how I added my picture there? I just to try to make it look a little more personal. There's actually somebody. Yeah, there's a face behind this voice that's coming from the depths of the internet.
Note to self: don't do it from home anymore.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I'm just gonna have to go to a coffee shop every time from now on. All right, so here's another question we have left over from last time, and I love this one. This is, when do I give up and go a different direction?
Ooh.
When do I know to give up? Butch,
I'm going to make this brief because I want all of us to answer it. When do you give up and go in a different direction? Whenever, I don't want to use the word give up. When do you go in a different direction? When you have exhausted every single, and I mean every single possibility of the direction you're going in. A lot of us just give up because we're not seeing results right away. We planted the seed. We want it to grow the next day. You plant the seed. Where's my apple tree? It's been 24 hours. You can't do that. It takes time to grow seed. Quit digging up the seed you just planted. When do you give up and go in a different direction? When you have exhausted every single possibility in the current direction you're in. But you got to exhaust them all. Don't exhaust two when there's still 45 other options out there. I don't like to give up ever. A lot of people give up instantly, and I don't want to ever have you guys do that. What do you think, Julianne, Nathaniel?
Well, I think
it's a change of mentality.
Go ahead, Nathaniel.
Go ahead, Julianne.
No, you go.
Okay. No, I think it's a change in mentality, right? It's a change in mentality from this idea of giving up, right? Like Butch was saying, if you truly have it in your heart to do something, you've got a vision to do something, you might not be able to execute it at the moment. You might not have the resources to execute it at the moment, but you take the time, you go through the season that it takes. Again, when you plant something, to Butch's example, it takes time to harvest. So even though you might not see the harvest right away, it's worth waiting it out. Now, here's what you do while you're waiting. Here's what you do while you're waiting for it to manifest. You make sure that you're learning, you're expanding your own growth, you're reaching out to others who have already been there, and you're growing and maturing so that you have the capability to handle it. Sometimes we don't get the harvest right away or get the big answer right away just because we're not capable to handle it. We need to grow. We need to develop. Sometimes it's us that's the issue. And as you grow and develop yourself, I will guarantee you that as you move forward, you're going to see your vision come to pass. But it takes personal growth. It takes commitment. It takes dedication. So that's what I'd say. I'd say change the mentality of idea of giving up to just adapting, flexing, changing your plan, changing your direction a bit, and you'll end up getting there.
Well, I kind of agree. I'm in the middle of both of you guys because, it may not look the way you thought it was supposed to look, but it's still going to happen. But sometimes we get so caught up and no, it's supposed to look like this. It's supposed to be like this. This is how I envisioned it. But like what Nathaniel said, like start meeting other people, start reading books, start watching or listening to podcasts, watching YouTube videos on maybe someone that's doing the same thing or whatever. What if it looked differently? What if the way you were doing it wasn't appealing to the masses or to the people that you are, marketing to? Maybe there's something else that some other element you can bring in that might be just that one little thing. When I'm listening to podcasts of these large companies, I hear stuff all the time like, hey, we just changed our colors and our branding and it completely changed everything. And you're like, whoa, just your colors changed? Well, because they were trying to go after a younger audience, but they had colors that were for an older audience, and just changing the color really started attracting a younger generation. So maybe it's just something like that. But I don't like the words give up, because when you do that, what that says is loser. You can say that to yourself. When you say that, well, I'm just going to give up. That means sometimes if I say that to myself, I feel like the biggest loser, because that's how I would condemn myself for just giving up. Don't give up. There's no reason to give up. You can make it look a different way. You can dissect it and see what other avenues you can go down. It may not look the same. It's like, we heard about the stories about, I think it was Instagram, what it was before it became Instagram, and then it became Instagram. It's like, the logo looked nothing like what it is today. There's things that we can tweak along the way, but there's something about that word, those two words, giving up, that really puts this connotation on our own hearts of saying, you failed at something. And I don't believe there's failure in anything, because I believe that there was a journey during the whole time, and you learned something along the way.
That's good. That's really good. All right, we've got one more question we're going to take, but before I go to that question, I want to address something that Sean says here. He is asking if there's some sort of coaching. What's the best place to learn from Vision Possible? Is there a mentor option or service? Yeah, absolutely, Sean. You can go to visionpossible.net, visionpossible.net, and you can see our different options on there. We do have coaching available. It does cost, because we want you to be invested, in what we provide, and we know what we're providing. But yeah, you can choose your coach on visionpossible.net. And the best thing about Vision Possible, what I love, is it's coaching from people who have been there and who have done it, not just people who are professional teachers, right? I mean, yeah, we all love to teach the coaches, but we've actually been there. We've applied it. We've done it. And so especially like industry specific knowledge for you, Sean, we were talking about your voiceover business earlier, and all of those pieces. So head over to visionpossible.net. There's a couple of different options on there where you can watch teachings, but also get access to the coaching. So again, that's visionpossible.net. All right, okay, we're going to take our last question. This one is from Hannah. I absolutely love this question. I'm curious to hear the answer too. So this one's for Julianne. Did God ever tell you no on a vision that you wanted to chase? And if so, how did you trust God?
Oh, girl, thank God. There are many times where he said no, and I did not go that well. I take that back. There were times where I did it anyway, and there was absolutely no fruit. It was very stressful. It was horrible. I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and I knew it, but my ego was trying to push it to make it happen, and I finally had to give up and say, okay, forget it, I'm done. That was a give up moment for me, because it was not a thumbs up from the Lord. In my life that I'm living now, in the last 20 years, I live for Christ, and I'm not living for me and my great ideas, because I did that for my first 40 years, and a lot of stuff didn't pan out the way I thought it was. So the last 20 years, I've been really living for the Lord and asking him what he wants me to do. Everything that he's asked me to do has been extremely successful. Everything. The things that I started to do that I knew I was, like I said, in the wrong place at the wrong time, I had to back away from and say, okay, I'm done with that. I will not pursue that anymore. But that isn't a giving up. That's not like I've done everything and then I gave up. No, that was realizing that I was not where I was supposed to be. So I let it go because I knew it wasn't right. So you never want to be in that position. God is speaking to us all daily. And if we just listen and we slow everything down for a minute and just listen, the Lord will show you things that you should be doing or what he's called you to do. So absolutely. A lot of times when we do our own thing, what happens is we just spend a lot of time doing our own thing. And yeah, it might look a little successful here and there, but you want to do things that's going to be, on this earth forever. And that you're going to leave a legacy behind while you're doing it. So the stuff that God has you do, there's a legacy behind that. The stuff that you're doing might just be the immediate, looking for attention immediately. But the stuff that he gives you is eternal. So that's a good way to look at it.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for all your questions tonight. It was great. We appreciate coming to you.
Daniel Freeling, thank you for your comment there, buddy. Good stuff. And Sean and Hannah and Living Blue Jay and everybody else. Alexander, who else do whoever we didn't get to. But everybody, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Julianne Pyle, thank you.
And we'll be back with you guys again next month. We do this every first Monday of the month. So if you haven't, follow, subscribe, send to your friends. And if you're on YouTube, click that notification bell so you know right when we're going live. Every first Monday of the month, 5 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Mountain. We are coming to you live every first Monday of the month. But guys, we really enjoyed coming to you tonight, and have a great rest of your month. And remember, your vision is for a set time. God has put it in your heart, and you are going to make it happen. Your vision is possible. Thanks,
Yes.
guys.
You've got a month
Bye.
to move it along. You got a month to move it down the roads. Let's hear about all the awesome testimonies next month.
That's right. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
See you next time.